3 parts to this video. Part 1 is going to be me answering questions you guys have asked me over the last few months while I have been away from YouTube. So I like to answer comments in written response, but also sometimes in videos so I can actually elaborate on what I'm saying. And I picked some questions that I think deserve just that. Part 2 is going to be me giving some advice to those of you who might feel in the kind of winter slumps of your training. If you just started a workout program for the first time ever in January around New Year's resolutions and all of that, I've got some stuff for you guys to keep you motivated, keep things interesting. And for those of you who might just be on your normal routine and just aren't really feeling great about it, and you do have a spring race coming up, I'm going to help reignite the fire. Finally, in part 3, I'm going to get personal with you guys. I'm going to give you some life updates, stuff that's been going on with me, why I took some time off the channel, and it'll all hopefully make sense. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, hopping right into the questions here. Question number 1 was actually somebody asking me on one of my 100-mile videos, nutrition for vegans. How do you eat if you are a vegan through a 100-mile race? First and foremost, you're looking to achieve the correct amount of energy, not crashing at all from start to finish, just like all of us. I find that with traditional race products like gels and things like that, you don't really have to worry too much about animal-based products like dairy and cheese and stuff like that. And meats, you're not really eating those during like a marathon, for example. You might be having gels and chews, and for the gels, I definitely recommend Spring Nutrition. I think those are completely vegan. They're really just like 4 or 5 foods in the gel that combine to make it. But in a 100-mile race, we know, especially as you've seen in my videos, you eat a lot of normal foods, so sandwiches, pizza, soups, noodles, all that kind of stuff throughout the race. And that really comes down to what's available to you at the aid stations and whoever is crewing for you, what they've created as a spread. So if you are vegan, you can't obviously depend on an aid station built for the whole community to have everything that you need or a lot of options for you. I find that when it comes to dietary restrictions, usually they want to create an environment where everybody feels like they're going to be supported, because obviously it brings more money to their race, more people are talking about it, and everyone feels included. But if you need to create your own routine for your race, a lot of people do. Everyone has different needs, not just nutrition related. It is totally possible for you to do so. So via your crew and where you've set everything up to switch out your stuff, make sure that your normal foods that you like running with and you feel good and energized on are available to you if it's not going to be at the aid stations. Now, of course, the main goal of our nutrition throughout is to give you quick carbs, quick sugars that just go right into the tank like gas in the car, keeps you moving so you don't have those dips in between. We're not going for really tough to process foods. I really wouldn't recommend anything high fiber, nothing that's kind of annoying to digest. You really want stuff that's going to keep moving through you and keep you going. So that really comes down to what you practice on the long run. And if you are vegan, you know by now, if you're thinking of running 100 miles, you have your long runs down. You know what makes you feel the best. Just have those foods and things available to you. Crews are great for that. Aid stations, drop bags if you don't have a crew, so you'll be able to switch stuff out. That kind of thing. But I do find that a lot of races, there's a lot of options at these aid stations. And it tends to be the earthy, crunchy granola type at a lot of these trail races. Not discriminating. I am largely that type of person in many ways. But they tend to help give that environment to people that are vegan, vegetarian, etc. So I really would do your research beforehand. But a lot of these races are so big and put on that they have thought about it. Moving into question number 2, somebody asked, can you make a video about the mental portion of running? What our brain thinks about, how to get it away from thinking about the torture I'm putting it through, and how to shut down that voice that tells me stopping would be so much easier. I notice in my running, it's more boredom that gets me to quit before physical pain, ADHD, and as a woman running, I don't want to use headphones on full blast in my outdoor runs. That leaves room for my thoughts to come in and my thoughts to tell me to quit, and I get hyper-focused on my body's efforts, neither of which helps me. Here's my first tip on this. If you are feeling panic of any kind, it's annoying, you feel like every step hurts right off the bat, you are doing too much. I would dial things back, whether that means more frequent walk breaks or just running slower or both. That will already put you in a headspace to make good decisions throughout, so you're not feeling like you're fighting every single step. There is nothing enjoyable about that. And of course, we have tempo days or speed days where we are pushing ourselves through more by choice. But you going out for a jog shouldn't feel life-ending. If it does, it's too much too soon. So dial things back. There's definitely stuff I've put on the channel here about easy ways to make running better in the beginning. And the second piece of this, how do we get ourselves not bored from just running without headphones? You need to use the run as sort of this background noise, but really healthy environment for your best thinking and processing. You don't need to go so deep in your thoughts if you don't feel like it that day, but when you go out and jog or run, it's a really nice, clean space to think and use your brain as clearly as possible. So a lot of times we're multitasking all day long, thinking about 50 things while we're doing 50 other things, and it never feels like we can give full attention. What I really like about running for that is you get that nice baseline, you make sure you're going at a rate that you feel you can sustain and it's comfortable, you can breathe through it. And then on top of that, you can start working through some stuff that you maybe haven't given time to, whether that's something creative, something for work, whether it is thoughts you've been kind of avoiding personally, or anything that you've been noodling on, deciding how to approach a situation. Whatever it is, it's the clearest time you're going to have. So definitely use that time to create an environment for your thoughts that feels productive. My mom was actually a really good example of this. She always used her run time to work through work decisions or get creative about how to approach a situation. She had a pretty high stress job, and she never felt like in the office she could think clearly and get ideas to come to her, but on her runs, that's where it happened. So I urge you, if you do feel bored when you're running, take in the views and everything, but don't let the run entertain you. Use this as a safe space, an office space kind of for your brain to work through things really in a clean way. It's really actually so therapeutic, and it helps distract from any pains or soreness or whatever that's coming up along the way. And the last thing I'll say about this is that if you find yourself always thinking about when is the run going to be over? When is it going to be done? I want to quit. You are not really embracing the process of running. And like I said, if that needs to be jogging or walking or a combo of the two right now, that's completely fine if it keeps you moving and keeps you enjoying day after day getting out there. If it's all about just getting to the finish and just checking it off the list, you're never going to like it because it's only about that completion. It's not about the actual sweating and thinking and being out there and going through the rough times, etc. So if you're just getting into running, I know every step hurts, but really, really consider dialing things back. Maybe you just go out for 10 minutes instead of 20 so that you feel like you've got a little bit left in the tank the next time you go out there, so you're not completely defeated every single time. I've said this in other videos, but if you finish every run scraping out of the bottom of the barrel, you are going to remember that as the feeling of the run, and you're not going to really want to get back out there again. So make it manageable so that you actually want to go back out. I did a video on half marathon for beginners, specifically people who are overweight wanting to lose weight in that process. Somebody asked, what do you think is a good time frame to train for this? Should I give myself 4 months? I want to sign up for one, but I'm in week 1 of training now. 4 months is really, really safe, I think, for a half marathon for a complete beginner with no training under their belt, perhaps who also needs to lose some weight for it to feel more comfortable. 4 months is safe. It's definitely going to give you that time to create a nice base for just workouts in general, and then you can go into actual ramping up of the mileage. If you're someone who has done half marathons before, but you've taken a long time and you're coming back to it, you know your body a bit better. I think you can get away with 2 to 3 months, depending. A good way to know if you're sort of in the realm of being able to finish a half marathon is when you're a month out from the race, you should be able to move for 2 hours consistently, whether that's run, walk, jog, walk if you're going to walk the race, whatever it is. But 2 hours of moving time is a really good place to be to know you're going to be fine. There's obviously people wanting a certain time goal for their half marathon. And for a lot of people, 2 hours, they want to be faster than that. And they want to run the whole thing as fast as they possibly can. So that would be different goals. But if you can move for 2 hours, keep moving forward, you've got a nutrition system, you know, the shoes you're wearing, the clothes and everything, you're in a really good spot a month out. If you are totally square one, don't know where to even begin, you're just picking your training program, you're just deciding how you're going to lose weight, changing your diet and all of that, 4 months is a really safe place to be, and it gives you that time to figure it all out. Next question was about altitude. Someone said, I live at 4,000 feet. I'm training for my first 50 miler, which is at 11,000 feet. How will the altitude affect me? It's probably my biggest unknown factor. I made a video about how to train at sea level for an altitude race. This is actually a better situation because you're at some altitude and then you'll be going higher up. My biggest thing that I noticed with that mammoth race when I was up at 11,000 feet was it's very discouraging to stop earlier than you want to when you're planning on taking a hike break, a walk break, etc. If you feel like the race is running you versus you running the race, that's where your mind starts to disintegrate a little bit. You start to doubt everything you've done. I think a good game plan for this person who wrote in is possibly breaking up long runs into a little bit of tempo work. So pushing a little harder for periods of the long run and then dialing it back. And what that'll do, hopefully, is just increase the overall aerobic base for the long run when you slow everything down up at altitude. That might have sounded a little complicated, but you want to give yourself a little bit of a boost aerobically so you can handle more at a higher heart rate, but you will be running slower. You'll be moving slower up at that altitude to be safe and stable throughout. Hopefully, though, that will give them an idea based on their pace and everything like that of a place they can sustain through the race. It's different for everybody. Everyone's affected differently. I like getting up to altitude either way before the race so I can totally acclimate and sleep in that for a few nights, or I go like a day before and I almost don't have time to realize I'm at altitude. Everybody's different. You can't exactly mirror the conditions, but this person's at a good place of being already a few thousand feet up. You got to do your best. You've got to stay up on the water. And then Advil is also my best friend when it comes to altitude headaches. Final question on the questions section of the video. Somebody asked about regulating their temperature through like a 100-mile race, 50-mile race, something where you're out there all day. They said, how is running for that long in cold weather? I'm good running in cold weather for a short period of time, but if it goes more than 12 hours, I lose control of my temperature regulation and can get cold fast. Was that an issue for you? So this person was asking about the 100-miler that I did in Northern Virginia in like late fall. So it was cold, and I did have points throughout that day where I was feeling like my body just couldn't warm up. That being said, what really helped was creating blood flow, especially during times where I was doing transitions. So changing clothes, getting more food, whatever. I'd have my crew use their fists and kind of pound up and down on my quads or just squeeze my shoulders or flush out the legs. And it just kind of re-stimulated the body. I also, as painful as it was sometimes, I would do a couple leg swings or stretch my calves or even a squat or two if I had to hang on to someone for it. But it helped kind of re-stimulate, because I think what happens is once you've been running for a while and many hours, your body almost starts to see the running as like sitting. It's so used to it that it doesn't feel like it's creating that output anymore. At least that's how it feels in my head. So the more you can do to kind of like reawaken what's going on and create blood flow, eating also helps that. Your body warms up to digest. That can help with that. Eventually it feels like the layers of clothes aren't really helping. Definitely get your hands and feet, your ears, cover those up, and use a foil blanket when you can during your transition periods as well. All right, came outside for part 2, got a little fresh air, some more light on me, and this is supposed to inspire you guys, this section. If you're feeling a little monotonous in your routine, you just feel like the days drag on, winter's getting heavy for you, and you feel like your training's going nowhere, this section's for you. I first want to tell you guys, it's so amazing that it's almost the end of February, and if you're watching this and still training, you've just put in several weeks of work, and no matter what they looked like, I'm proud of you for staying on it enough to care about what this video has to say. That's a big one there. Second thing, if you're somebody who just started training, you just started working out, it's your first time ever doing this, I'm really excited for you, because you have now made it over the hump. You have made it over the portion where you wanted to quit, you didn't quit, even if it's not as pretty as you thought it might look by now. What I recommend to everybody feeling a little slumpish right now is you are maybe biting off more than you can chew in terms of what you ask yourself to do on a weekly basis. If you find that you're getting dragged down by the fact that you're not completing everything you said you would each week, you might be doing too much. So for example, if I set out to do 3 runs a week and every single week I am just not hitting the 3rd one, I'm only hitting 2. I want you guys next week to go in with the intention of 2 runs. Pick your 2 favorite workouts and just do those. You might find that after 4 weeks of consistently doing what you said you were going to do, it would inspire you to add the 3rd run back in, now feeling more in control. Versus the other way around, I say I'm going to do 5 runs this week. I hit maybe 3 week after week. Then I start to hit 2 because what's the point? 3 or 2 compared to 5 doesn't really matter at that point. Eventually it dwindles down and nothing feels like it's getting you anywhere. It's all context. It's all how you look at it. You want to be seeing yourself as the driver. You're in the driving seat. You decide what happens to your training and to your overall progress. So minimize, kind of simplify things and go in with a plan you know you are going to complete. From there, you can add on to that and look for things that are more challenging. Second piece of advice, a win is a win. Anything that feels good or anything you are remotely proud of should be really celebrated. These are the moments that make up the majority of our training. These are the highlights that keep us going, that get us wanting to sign up for the next race the next year. We look back on those moments. So really make a big deal when you run your first mile ever, or make a big deal when you hit the fastest pace you've run in 2 months, whatever it is. Make sure that you're celebrating those moments too. If you're feeling stale in any of your training related to nutrition or the workouts themselves, make sure you're not dealing with a nagging illness or injury. There can be little things that we kind of ignore and brush off on the daily that suddenly added up. We realize that's been making us feel like a low-level baseline, not good. And we're trying to operate as if we're normal. So we're confused as to why we can't have the output we want. Make sure you're eating well as best you can, having those cheat meals, whatever you want to call them, those fun things, but overall baseline doing things that serve your workouts. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Obviously drinking your water. This is like, duh, Holly, of course. But I want you guys to know that whatever baseline you create for yourself that you show up with each day is ultimately what your workouts will have to fuel them. That's all it has. It just is really based on your daily habits. So check back in with yourself. If you need to mix things up, throw in a new recipe every couple of weeks. I've been playing with new things here at the house, like making salads I've never made before. I'm like in a soup kick right now, but things just kind of reinvigorate and keep me inspired. As far as types of workouts or types of runs, again, make sure you're getting something out of what you're doing. If you freaking hate going to that hill to do that specific hill workout, go to a set of stairs and try to translate it there. Go to the treadmill if it is cold, but you know you'll do it on the treadmill, whatever it is. The other hand, if you're always inside, and get outside once a week, even if it's for a 5-minute walk. Things like this can really just start the gears going again, and you can really get on your feet and make some real progress over the next month. I know that it feels very overwhelming sometimes to know that you've signed up for such a huge goal, and maybe looking at a plan that's 16 weeks long and you're maybe on week 10 or week 8 or whatever, and it just feels like you're going nowhere. Just pull back, focus on the day, focus on the hour you're on. You're going to be okay. You've got this. I know you guys do. And like I said, the worst is over for all of us who started in January. We're at the end of February. We're going to be good for March, April, etc. And here we are, guys, finally at part 3, my personal tell-all, not really, of what's been going on with me, where I've been when I wasn't posting on YouTube for a few months, kind of things that help fill in the gaps. I love watching YouTubers myself. I love watching them live their life, cook, do their laundry, share thoughts, all that stuff. But I find that when there's huge chunks missing from the story that feel like unanswered questions, it's hard to then keep relating to them. And I don't feel like I owe it to you guys necessarily to fill you in, but I feel like I have a relationship with you that is made better by communication and transparency. That being said, let's jump right into it. Number 1 on the updates is racing schedule this year, what I'm doing for my running and my training. I have decided I am probably not doing any races this year in 2024. I was at a place at the end of last year of so much thought and training and effort towards the 100 and all the races leading up to get me ready for it, that I really was at a point at that finish line after the 100 of feeling so proud and feeling so ready for a break. When your whole life revolves around coaching others and yourself and posting it online and everything like that, I don't want to burn out. And I know that if I were to continue through another year of back to back to back, I think I would lose all motivation for this completely. So I want to keep fresh for you guys and for my clients. I really want to give my full energy to everybody else this year. I want to run for fun, which has already been going so well. Good example, I went and did 10 miles. I wasn't even expecting to with my friend, actually, who paced me on the 100 a couple weeks ago. And it felt so amazing. I didn't have anything hanging over my head about what that 10 miler meant to a race. The pace of it didn't matter. We actually ended up running like sub 10-minute mile pace, which for me that's awesome for 10 miles. It was just nice to be out there and feel good and move my body and just not really have an agenda to it. I really enjoyed being out there with my clients more and just really giving so much focus to them and what their goals are. I have so many people in my life right now that are training for things and getting ready for first times of certain distances or PR goals or even, getting their family members into running and stuff like that. And it's just so exciting for me. I want to give my time to that. Secondly, I also want to use this opportunity to do workouts that I just feel like doing. If that means F45 for the first half of this year, and then I want to switch to a different style of workout, boxing, or just go to Pilates, or, create my own workouts at home, whatever I want, or walk, whatever. I want to feel like I can do that without any sort of pressure that I might let myself down at a future date. that can get really heavy sometimes when it's my whole world. So hopefully that makes sense. I actually think this will be more inspiring for you guys. Obviously, we have my content that I've made already on other races I've done and stuff like that, but it is going to be really fun this year to focus on the content helping you guys out and not being so bogged down by my own goals, selfishly. Part 2. Obviously, I moved into this house. I can't shut up about it. I'm so excited to make it my own, go through projects. I've already learned so much. It's kind of crazy, these life experiences that only come with owning a home, but I find that this is doing wonders on my anxiety and OCD. You cannot squash all the moles down, whack-a-mole, all the problems down as soon as you want to with home ownership. There's not a budget for that, and there's not time for that. So I'm realizing that I'm getting really good at being patient and knowing that I'm going to handle it on the timeline that I can. And there's nothing I can do beyond my best that day. And that's really living that day after day is making everything feel more calm and in control. I'm just proud of myself. Like this is hard. This leads me to part 3, which is, as you could probably tell, I've moved to this house by myself. I, at the sort of the end of last year, beginning of this year, did decide to end my relationship that, to be frank, I thought that was going to be the person that I married. We had a dog, the whole thing, the family life. It was really great, and good God, did it teach me a lot. But I just want to, without going personally into it too much, out of respect for him, and I do have all the love in the world for him, I feel so confident now in my gut feelings and the trust in myself when things don't feel right. What I mean by that is how you live, just as I was saying earlier in the video about how you do things on a daily basis, is how you do things on a monthly and yearly basis. So if you have an underlying feeling that kind of comes back each and every day that you feel like you can't really solve, and you've tried different avenues or ways of thinking about it, you might really be needing a big change. And it felt to me like I needed to make a change and be on my own and figure out what it is that I need and what I want. And I felt like the calmest way to, I don't want to say the only way to achieve my goals, but to get really what I want out of this one life that I get was to be alone and out of that relationship. It is so hard. I tried a few times throughout the period of the breakup to like film, and my eyes were, it wasn't pretty. And it felt like it wasn't good content. So I feel at a place now where I've processed a lot and I've worked through a lot that I can talk openly and now be in a much more upbeat space as I move forward. But I really wanted to be in that kind of zone. Same with the grief that I had gone through in the past, with my mom and stuff like that, of just like really being in it. I do feel like you can move on quicker that way, when you can make sense of it sooner. So anyway, without fully going into that is what's been going on. That dog was technically, Deborah was his, and so no more Deborah, which is really hard. She taught me how to be a mom, honestly. I feel like I can be a mom now because of her, and I'm so grateful for the year that we had her together, and I'm not going to talk anymore about that or I will cry. But hopefully there's a puppy in my future in the next year or so. That's it on that. Lastly, I just wanted to share with you guys kind of what I'm using this year to propel me forward, and kind of what I mentioned, but the trusting in my gut feeling, the peace I get from that, and the ability to roll with the punches from all the house stuff is kind of the energy I have for this year. I know that I can handle more if I let myself handle more at a more sustainable rate. Not everything needs to be a huge fire emergency situation. I can really take my time on things. I can trust the process, trust myself, and know that everything's going to get better each and every day. And when things fall apart, or I'm dealing with trying to grow and do everything at once and be good at my job and, make you guys like me and all that stuff, it's not going to be very clear black and white. I think the biggest thing I always come back to is we always think it's option A or B is going to happen to us, and it's always secret option C. So as it pertains to running, to, training my clients, creating content on here, building a life for myself, starting over romantically at age 32, whatever it is, it's not going to happen how you think it will. And I am now excited by that idea rather than threatened by that idea. So I think this is a good note to end on. God knows this video is probably so long, but I really appreciate you guys listening. I hope I don't regret sharing too much, but I really love you guys. I seriously mean it. You keep me wanting to make content for you guys and help you guys out. So I am fully here for you, so present this year to give you the tips that you need in whatever department that is. Please let me know what you want to see, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.